Cyberpunk 2077 still has a long way ahead until April next year, but there's already a playable gameplay demo at the E3 convention, with an actual reveal and a dev Q&A being planned for sometimes in August. There's also a lot of people playing it in the past 24 hours or so we got a ton of new info about it from sources like IGN and such, and also some brand new gameplay screenshots and a ton of details about CD Projekt Red's partnership with Nvidia. I'll go over that in just a bit, so let's dive right in, and also make sure to leave a like on this video if you're also hyped for Cyberpunk. Now, going over the screenshots first, these are reported to have been pulled right out of the E3 demo, and they showcased both gameplay and scenery, as well as a few new ones from the various cutscenes and missions. I'll also leave them running in the background as I give you more info about the game, but Night City actually looks more alive than I thought, with NPCs being engaged in more than just a few activities. Like for example, in this shot you can see this NPC tuning his guitar or even playing it, and there's also a text over him that reads, "Where is Johnny?" Of course hinting to Johnny Silverhand, which I believe one of the screenshots below even features him as he walks through an alley. Now, Johnny Silverhand, played by Keanu Reeves, is going to be a major part of the story, but that's all I'm going to say for now. The info posted by IGN contains a fair amount of spoilers, so I'm going to avoid all of them in this video and simply focus instead on gameplay and features. If you want to read it, I'm going to post a link down below, but be warned, it's heavily relying on a ton of spoilers. If you don't want to see that, don't look at it, or well, just check this video if you want to, but you know, you're going at your own risk. There's no video unfortunately, as CD Projekt Red wants to release more info in the upcoming months, so all we have right now is the info that was shown. But moving on to the brand new info, as you would expect, Night City is huge, filled with life, activities, shops, NPCs, and areas that can range anywhere from rundown poor neighborhoods all the way to the more luxurious city centers. There's a fully dynamic day and night cycle, and there's seemingly no loading screen at all. There's only one exception to this, and that is of course when you fast travel, so fast traveling is confirmed, but otherwise you can explore the entire city without encountering a single loading screen, which is super awesome. At one point the player came across a Yaibi Kusanagi motorcycle, which is the same one you can find in the collector's edition. It seems that you can encounter this motorcycle, and driving it seems fairly arcadey and sort of stiff according to IGN's description. You can change the radio and even listen to different stations if you want to, and even swap from the first person to the third person perspective, which is really awesome. We already knew this from the gameplay trailer, but there's the option in the game as well. Also, the environment features a great deal of destructibility. For example, walls and pieces of cover can get torn up with bullets as you are engaged into fighting, and we already saw a little bit of destructibility in the 48-minute gameplay we had last year. Now, moving on to combat, it's been reported that while you can indeed go on a full killing spree, which feels super satisfying, non-lethal stealthy options also exist. So yes, CD Projekt Red pretty much confirmed that you can potentially never actually have to kill anyone and finish the game in a completely non-lethal way. This is mainly because the game features a so-called fluid class system that allows you to mix and match a ton of abilities, over which I'll go in just a bit, so you can invest in a more weapon damage centric build, or if you want to, in a more non-lethal hacking focused build. Of course, you get the perk points as you level up, and you can invest these points in a number of categories, including but not limited to blades, rifles, handguns, assassination, cold blood, sniper rifles, engineering, hacking, shotguns, melee, two-handed, and a ton more. I mean, the guys over at IGN didn't even have enough time to like write all of these down, so it's a full skill system, a full skill tree that is branching into a ton of areas, and it's almost represented like a sort of motherboard with cables going on from the center, so this sounds really awesome. It seems that there's going to be a ton of playtesting to be done for this game, and even if you like finish it once, it doesn't mean you have to stop there. You can play it again or continue somehow, as there's a ton of stuff you can do. There's a lot of builds you can invest points in and recreate, so it's really awesome. It's crazy how in-depth this game is going to be. What's even more awesome is that your dialogue choices with NPCs are also affected by the perks you choose to invest points in, so this might be somewhat similar to how Elder Scrolls does it, maybe even more advanced than that. And they even have quick lines. I mean, the NPCs have quick lines for you if you are waiting for a dialogue option to pick, so they might even get impatient to wait for your answer if you're like taking your time to choose the proper dialogue option. When fighting enemies, you do have to be mindful of their level, and it seems that enemies have their own levels which are indicated next to their names. There's a satisfying feedback, as I've said, when hitting and shooting people, and enemies also react to the regions of the body that you shoot. An example was given with an enemy being shot in the foot, which in turn caused him to have a limp, but I believe there is more than that. When encountering guards in a certain area, if you want to infiltrate it, you can either jump right in and fight them, or take them down stealthily, either in a lethal or a non-lethal way, as I've said, or cause distractions to run past them. An example of distraction was given, and you can hack into a soda vending machine. This will pull some of the enemies around, and you can run past them or even take them by surprise if you want to. I mean, you can do anything you want to in this game. Alternatively, locked doors can also be kicked in, so you will encounter many opportunities for you to lock and make your way through the next area. And it seems that there's two ways. Of course, you can kick them in, as I've said, or you can take the more stealthy approach and hack into them. And there also appears to be a hacking minigame for every time you hack into these, so it sounds really awesome. Pretty advanced game, I might say. There's a lot of detail, attention to detail, that a lot of players, I believe, will like. There's a number of buffs in the game that you can apply to yourself. Of course, we already knew a bunch of these from the 2018 gameplay trailer, but in the 15-minute demo from yesterday, there was a buff that made your character to move faster, though I believe there's more advanced ones. I believe there's even one that lets you stop time a little bit. Now, in terms of customization options for your character, for V, you already know a ton of them. Outside of the initial character creation screen, you have a wide range of options to personalize and change stuff like hair, skin and eye color, a ton of facial features to modify, and the same goes for clothing. You can also customize clothing, which sounds really awesome. In the city itself, there's a lot of shops you can unlock as your street cred goes up, and you increase your street cred as you complete missions for certain gangs that you will come in contact with as you play the game. Some of these shops can also sell you items that you can equip, and they will give you new abilities. For example, there's an ability called Demon Software that you get from one of the items that you purchase from one of the shops, and this lets you hack basically anyone, and this can cause them to kill themselves or shut themselves down completely. In a certain example that was given, it made an NPC to pull the pin on a grenade he was holding, which in turn pretty much killed him. So there's probably going to be something even better than this, but even this sounds really freaking cool. Now, in the footage we saw up until now, there's a fair share of fighting with regular enemies, but there's also ones with boss enemies that have special attacks and special mechanics that you might want to be mindful of. For example, there's a certain boss leader that I won't name because I don't want to spoil anything, but that boss yields a huge hammer, and you kinda need to take him down by shooting his glowing weak points, and this in turn will make him lose its power supply, making it too weak to hold that hammer, so then you can move on to damaging him even more. But of course, many of these bosses have several phases, much like in MMORPGs, for example. They become even more difficult as they're closer to their death, and some of them might even hack into you, so you kind of have a limited amount of time to take them down before you yourself are defeated. So it sounds really awesome. I mean, the level of difficulty is definitely going to keep you up. Finally, we also have the Nvidia partnership that I was talking about that brings real-time ray tracing to Cyberpunk 2077. There are already a couple of screenshots that feature this, and this might very well be the thing that boosts this technology ahead and makes it more mainstream. Currently, RTX cards are significantly more expensive, but it seems that Nvidia in general is probably going to drop some prices, and the next generation of RTX cards in theory should be less expensive. So hopefully Cyberpunk, being such a huge and anticipated game, could help make that possible. But there's also an announcement from CD Projekt Red in this regard, and it's not just about the profits and making things cheaper. Ray tracing allows us to realistically portray how light behaves in a crowded urban environment. Thanks to this technology, we can add another layer of depth and verticality to the already impressive megacity the game takes place in. So again, if it's not for profits, for cheaper prices, for just boosting the technology, it's for making the game look as good as possible, so you really feel immersed into that huge mega city that Night City is. So obviously I cannot wait for this game to come up. There's such a long way ahead, I mean one whole year almost, but you know, the upcoming months should give us a lot more information to go over, because there's also going to be a dev Q&A, as I've said, as well as the gameplay showcase that people can now see at E3. As for the rest of us, we're gonna check it sometimes in the next months. In the meantime, of course, tell me what you think of this brand new information. Are you excited about Cyberpunk 2077? Comment down below, and of course, in the meantime, a thumbs up and a subscribe would be super appreciated. And I will see you guys next time, so peace out.